Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to my channel where I share my financial journey to debt freedom and financial independence. If that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you can stay tuned on my journey. Today we're doing my first 2025 budget closeout, which is going to be for January. And for some of the updates that I'm going to share in today's video, you may have already heard of them because I talked about a lot of things in my 2025 reset video, which I will leave linked below if you want to check that out. But today we're just going to kind of recap how the entire month of January went. And of course, as always, we're going to use Monarch money to do our budget review. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're here on the accounts page, and I'm going to go through each of these account sections here one by one. Starting with my cash accounts, you'll see I have a lot more savings accounts, which was intentional. This time around, I wanted to group together my sinking funds by like their general area. So it just made more sense to have specific savings accounts for the new direction that I'm going in. And all of those are here. Again, I talked about these in detail in my 2025 reset video, so be sure to check that out if you want to know exactly how each of these accounts are used. And then I have my investments. The only account here right now is my 401k because I am prioritizing paying off my debt by the end of next year, and this is provided through my job. I am hoping to get to $5,000 at least by the end of this year, and I'm already almost at 3,000. So I'm pretty sure I'll hit that goal early, but this is my progress. And then for my loans, this is a bit of a bittersweet section because I have some good news and some bad news. Starting with the good news, I completely paid off my final Affirm loan, which was for the couch that I got last summer when I moved into this apartment. Moving on to the more bitter part of the news, some of you may recognize this Nelnet AD student loan, which was formerly this WF student loan. Well, I recently found out over the past couple of weeks as I was like pinballing between the school that I attended and the third party that I was making payments to and Nelnet, there was just a lot of miscommunications, and this balance that I paid towards that school was actually for a completely different balance. And I do still, in fact, owe this other student loan for that school. It just got billed to Nelnet. So that was a little disheartening because, you know, I thought I was making more progress in my debt than I really was. I know it's a fairly small loan, but still, that was like, it sucked to have to add it back in. So that's where we are, and I now am back to my normal 6 student loans that I need to pay off by the end of next year. And because I added this student loan back into my balance history and everything, my net worth has adjusted for all of the previous months. So again, I didn't really make as much progress as I thought. For example, in December, which was just 2 months ago, I thought that my net worth was under $10,000, and in fact it was almost negative 12,000. So it did set me back both mentally and, you know, literally in terms of my financial numbers here, but you know, we're doing what we got to do, and right now I just want to focus on paying it off. And speaking of net worth, my final net worth at the end of January, which does include the student loan that I had to add back into Monarch, was negative $9,280.55. I am still under that negative 10K mark, which is great, and I'm still aiming to have a positive net worth by the end of the year. Next, we're going to look at my recurring expenses. I'm honestly not a fan of this default view for the recurring tab in Monarch. I prefer the calendar. Maybe they just did it that way because of public opinion. I'm not really sure, but I would like to eventually have the option to just have the calendar as the default view. But nonetheless, I'm going to go back to January, and everything is green for the most part, which means that it came out correctly and as expected. The only one that's different is Pepco, and the reason that it's yellow is because if the expected amount is different than the actual amount, they'll highlight it in yellow to let you know something came out. And in this case, my electric bill was 37 cents higher than expected, which thankfully is not that big of a jump, but that's why it's here. and I still have a check mark, so I know everything is good and I don't need to make any changes on this page. Now we're gonna head straight into the budget. Previously, I would go into the transactions tab and go through all of my transactions here and then go to budget, but I found that it's easier to just see everything first in the budget page and then edit transactions as needed. So new step in the process, and we're gonna head straight over to the budget and then go back a month to January. So starting with my income, my paychecks was actually a little bit higher than expected. Before January, my typical amount was $3,047, but I got a promotion that came with a raise, and I thought that raise wouldn't be effective until February, but it actually hit in the middle of January. So that's why there's a little bit of a weird number here, but going forward in February, it will be the new expected amount based on the salary that I have now. And that's already zeroed out. For business, I actually need to increase this to 43. Thank you all so much for your support of my small little corner of the world through booking sessions with me and buying templates from my shop. I am very, very grateful, so thank you. And then for uncategorized, I did get $2 in interest from my checking account and high yield savings account this month, so I will update that here. And that's it for income. And you'll see that I did bring back the bank rollovers. Now this is just for this month of January because I'm trying out a new system to see if it's gonna work, and we're actually gonna be exploring it live together in this video. So I'll be able to see if it's the direction that I wanna go based on how this closeout goes. And if it works, I'll keep it. If not, I'll probably go back to doing what I was doing before. So we'll ignore the bank rollovers for now. And then for my needs, my rent was good. And then for water and sewer, this was $75 this month. You can see the price has slowly been climbing. And unfortunately, that is because my apartment does community usage for our bill. So there's really not much I can do. The community is using more, so I'm getting charged more. Electric was $50, which was right on budget. And then my gas, internet, and all of my insurances, including my renter's insurance and Koda's insurance, these are preset numbers that never change, so that stayed the same at $145. And then for my groceries, I spent $410. And this is because I've been having some like health/eating problems going on, and I did have to spend a little bit more on groceries than I typically would have. And I might actually end up having to increase my overall monthly budget for groceries to $410, or maybe even a little bit more. I will let you all know at the end of my February closeout how that's going. But for now, since I said I did want to implement Monarch's rollover feature, I'm gonna leave it as is. And once we get closer to the end of the closeout, we'll see if I want to keep that. Household was $26. And then for pet supplies, my new budget is $80 a month because he is on a purely wet food diet, which is healthier but more expensive. I do have to increase my budget a little bit there. And then for laundry, I actually budget $50 a month, but I only spent $29, so we can actually decrease that. So that's it for needs. Let's go to wants. So therapy was good, subscriptions was good, wellness, again, I overspent. And actually, I remember sharing in my 2025 reset video that I wanted January to be a no spend month because I made a pretty big debt payment. That didn't happen, but it's okay. And then we're keeping the rollovers for appearance and home, and then restaurants. My Nintendo subscription and my website domain both came out this month, and that was a total of $41. That's it for wants. And then for wealth, I have the big lump sum debt payment that I've been talking about recently over the last couple of videos. So as I said before, January 3rd, I completely paid off Affirm, and that was a total payment of $588. And then for my safety net, for those who are new to the channel, this is the category where I put anything that was unexpected for the month. And in this case, this had to do with a rent situation. I accidentally overpaid to the account, and so the extra money that I put into the account, I can't withdraw it. It was supposed to be for my internet bill, and I just put it in the wrong account. So This $45.90 was actually a credit now that it's in my rent portal, and then it just took off the money for February's rent. So I overpaid rent in January and then underpaid rent in February to balance it out, is essentially what happened. Hopefully that made sense. But yeah, there was no way for me to withdraw the money after I accidentally deposited. So that was less money I had to work with. And then for my goals, AKA my savings accounts, looks like I need to update my quick cash and my emergency fund. So what I'm gonna do now is pull up my bank statement for January and see if the numbers are matching up in Monarch. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Unfortunately, my attempt to have the rollovers and like all of this, it just did not work out. This is why I didn't want to announce this as a new process, because I wanted to make sure it worked first, and it didn't. So I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how I want to do everything in Monarch. But we're gonna leave everything alone for now and consider my budget reconciled. And then for February, when I do that budget closeout, I will come back to you all with an update. So the next thing is to head over to my goals, and you can see I have my 6 savings goals based on the bank accounts that I talked about earlier, as well as retirement and student loans. These are color coded, of course, because it's easier for my brain to recognize what goal is what. And it's really nice to just see everything in its place. And you can see the balances in my savings accounts are pretty low. I ended up spending a lot of my savings to pay off Affirm in December and January, and I don't mind that at all. And now that I have my raise, I can actually start aggressively increasing my savings. So I'm excited. And then the last thing we're gonna do in Monarch is go to cash flow and look at my savings rates and everything for this month. $25 was my total savings for January, and that was a savings rate of 0.8%. So for my needs, I spent 69.8%, which is right on the line with the 70-20-10 budget that I'm working on. And then wealth was 18.1%, which falls in line with the 20% guideline. And then my wants was 10% basically, which is right on the money. And then I have other, which was that very annoying overpayment fee thing. But yeah, these are my percentage rates. And lastly, we have my financial projections in Google Sheets. I'm realizing now that I have already entered in the numbers for January. So we're just going to quickly go over those. My cash was higher than expected at $2,384.73. This is because I'm always saving up towards the end of the month to pay rent on the 1st. So it's a little skewed, but I'm not going to change it. Then for my investments, this was a little higher than expected at $2,806.54. And then for my debts, my debt balance is actually not going to change until October once I start making my student loan payments again. And the debts that I'm talking about here are just my student loans because everything else is paid off. So my final net worth for January was, as I said before, negative $9,280.55. And then my projected net worth for February, at the end of February, is negative $9,093.30. This projection is based on the past 6 months, I believe, and I hid those from the view. I really just wanted to focus on this year. So hopefully as the months go on and I continue adding data to my spreadsheet here, the numbers towards the end of the year will start to look a little bit more like the numbers I'm hoping for. All right, everyone, that is it for my budget closeout for January 2025, the first month of the year. And now that I don't have to make debt payments for a couple of months, I have a new raise, I'm really looking forward to having higher savings amounts for future budget closeouts. And as you could tell from the video, most of the closeout was done with Monarch Money, which I absolutely love. I am not sponsored, but I have been using them for 2 years now on my financial journey. I absolutely love the product, and so I will leave a link below if you want to get an extended 30-day trial. The traditional trial is only 7 days. And also, if you want to do a deeper dive into setting up Monarch Money for your own financial situation, I do offer one-on-one training sessions, which I will also leave linked below. And the last shameless plug for this video is if you want to support me or check out any of the templates on my shop, including the Google Sheets financial projections one that I showed today. I will also leave a link to that in the description below. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.